and welcome everybody to Optimism Town Hall. So, we just had a wonderful respect game at Optimism Fractal with Zal and Eric working on some great stuff. So, I encourage you to check out the YouTube video to watch that. And today we're coming back for Optimism Town Hall for the first time in almost 4 or 5 months now. So, I'm excited to be here back with Eric. We have a really exciting agenda. So, probably the main topic of this event will be Eric sharing a run through an orientation of his doctoral study, measuring the impact of appreciation on nonprofit volunteer motivation, which examines how peer appreciation in fractal governance, like Optimism Fractal practices and pioneers, how this kind of fractal governance, fractal coordination impacts volunteer motivation within nonprofit organizations. So Eric's going to give an overview. He's worked on this for a long time. We're really excited to see the research that he's been doing and see it come to reality and fruition. He's been planning it for a really long time. And so I'm excited to see what he'll share with us. And there's also ways that everybody can get involved and play a leading role in helping to shape how that study will happen. The study will launch on November 1st, I believe. And basically, Eric's aiming to gain some feedback. So I'm going to give some feedback. Maybe if others join, then others will give feedback too on the exact training that the prospective research study participants will receive when the study launches in about 2 weeks from now to help make the training more clear, more concise, and more compelling. Basically, like I said, this study is helping people measure the impact of these kinds of fractal governance and respect game processes that we do at Optimism Fractal. We've been doing for almost 2 years at Optimism Fractal and 4 years in the fractal ecosystem, bringing it to nonprofit organizations and seeing how it can motivate volunteers. So it's a really exciting new kind of way to expand fractal governance to society. And this run through will provide a friendly introduction for anyone curious with the research. He's also got a volunteer and consent interest form that we have on the bottom of this tweet here that you can register for. I'll show in a little bit, as well as places where you can see the snapshot proposal. In addition to Eric's research, also a really big milestone for Optimism Fractal and the fractal ecosystem in general is that Optimism Fractal is nearing its 2-year anniversary. So Optimism Fractal was born on October 20th of 2023, and now it's October 16th of 2025. We're going to be celebrating the anniversary together with the community, and we hope you'll join us on October 29th, I believe it is, in 2 weeks from now, maybe October 30th. And so the way we'll do that is we're going to play the respect game as we always do at Optimism Fractal, but we're going to have another Optimism Town Hall. And during this, after playing the respect game where you can connect with builders and showcase your work and earn respect and so forth, after that, we're going to be celebrating Optimism Fractal's 2-year anniversary. It might be low key, it might be a big thing. I'm thinking of Optimism Fractal formal and some other ideas too, like optimistic stories. We've usually done some nice celebration and had an opportunity for people to share some speeches and stuff like that in the past. So I'm going to give a little overview and introduction. Maybe me and Eric will have a little planning session about this anniversary upcoming too. And of course, feel free to share any ideas in the Discord if you're watching this too. We'd love to hear what you think. If you're not familiar with Optimism Town Hall, welcome once again. It's a collaborative forum for discussions about Ethereum and the superchain with a special focus on community coordination and governance. We host sometimes bi-weekly events, but actually over the past 5 months, we switched to a schedule where an event is only scheduled if it has enough votes. That was announced in our last town hall that we were working on that, and that proposal did get approved. So you can check out optimismtownhall.com to learn more. I'll have to update this bi-weekly event section, but very pleased to be back with you all. These events provide an interactive space where you can learn more about optimism, the superchain, Ethereum, and contribute to important conversations with the collective's future. A lot of Optimism Fractal community members join here too, so encourage you to join. We have this community agendas game where people can propose topics and we can discuss whatever is most important to people in the community. So you can explore the website to learn how that works. You can watch videos we produce. It's actually the 40th Optimism Town Hall event, so there's 39 videos you can watch outside of this one. And at each event, because you can join the fractal event, you can gain influence to choose the topics of the fractal of the Optimism Town Hall by joining Optimism Fractal. And it's a great way to get more involved with Ethereum optimism, which you can learn more about on the website. So encourage you to check it out, encourage you to join. And you can register on the Optimistics event calendar, loot.optimistics. Hope to see you there at the next one for the celebration. There's also the Optimism Governance Forum where you can see our seasonal threads too, where we provide an overview of some of the things going on in the town halls. I just put out this post just yesterday, inviting everyone to join and kind of giving a little summary here for everybody and put this out in some other places. But Loot Up Monster Optimistics, where you can find both the RSVP, you can register for email reminders for Optimism Fractal, Optimism Town Hall, as well as the Eden Town Hall and Eden Fractal events, which happen every other week. That's one of the reasons why we haven't had as many Optimism Town Halls, because we've been focusing on Eden Town Hall. We've had a bunch of great episodes there and a new delegate system where people can help help lead the fractal ecosystem. So really cool stuff happening there, and everyone's welcome to join all these events on Thursdays at around 17 UTC. The Eden Town Hall actually just got moved to 16 UTC. So all these videos, of course, get published on the Eden Careers YouTube channel. Encourage you to watch and like and subscribe and share all these great videos that are going, sharing the good news about fractal governance with the world. So for today's agenda, as I mentioned, we do this agendas game, but basically anybody who has respected Optimism Fractal can propose topics in the Optimism Town Hall snapshot space. And you can see here the topic that's been most recently proposed has been basically to return for the anniversary reparations and research orientation. So we're going to dive into this 2-year anniversary planning and Eric's factor research study. And I kind of explained a lot of this already, so maybe we'll just get into it. Basically, oh, maybe I should also mention Eric's study. I mean, Eric can get more detailed, but I think the plan is that it's running for 8 weeks with light weekly touch points where people can get involved and meeting in small groups of 6 with friendly, structured conversations about recent contributions and impact. But anyway, maybe I'll save that for Eric. He knows it best, but you can read the screen and read the proposal. And maybe first, I think I'll lead with a little bit about the anniversary, and then because I think that'll be kind of a lighter, quicker topic. Maybe Eric, if you have any special ideas or just any feedback on mine, but basically, yeah, maybe I'll go ahead into that right now. Feel free, Eric, if you want to jump in at any point, but I suppose maybe I'll just get this out of the way so we can get into your topic about the research study next. But basically, I'm proposing that similar to how I think at Optimism Fractal like 48, that was our 1-year anniversary, and Eden Fractal's first year anniversary, and some other stuff like that. We had like some nice fun events. Basically, one thing that I was thinking about lately, it was an Optimism Fractal formal where potentially we could dress up a bit to mark the occasion. It doesn't have to be anything special. It's not required, but if anyone wants to like wear like a nice shirt or a special hat or maybe a suit and tie or maybe just a nice background, something fun. Maybe it can just be a way to celebrate both during the respect game and the town hall. And then during the town hall, think about playing a fun game called Optimistic Stories, where people can both share short stories about optimism or Ethereum or Optimism Fractal or fractals in general and what it's meant to them over the past couple of years. And also maybe take the opportunity to briefly honor somebody either in the room or in the community who's made a special impact on them. So that's basically the idea. I have kind of a draft proposal here that I worked on with AI after doing an audio note, which has more details, but I think most of this probably isn't really so necessary. Maybe I'll put this into an article if it's useful. But basically, this is kind of like the idea. Basically, you can see the summary of the idea right here. So, I'm curious, Eric, do you have any point? I know previously you're talking about you brought some great ideas about making a story that or stories and having a vision that people align around and helps people get involved. And one of the things we were talking about at the last event was that, or last Optimism Fractal event, is that we've been working on these fractal communities and fractal tools for the past couple of years, and we need to grow them pretty soon. So we think 2026 will be a good year. And so I don't know if the 2-year anniversary will be a time to do that. I think more so it's kind of for, anybody's welcome to join, but also just maybe we'll reach out to some people who have been here in the past and then share some good times and get people more involved. So basically we want to have, make it a good time, make it a special experience for people at this event and who have been here with us for the past couple of years, as well as anybody who's joining, want to, welcome to a great community. I suppose, Eric, if you have any thoughts about this 2-year anniversary planning, I don't think it needs to be such a big deal, but I think it'd be nice to do something special. So that's why I put this out here and be curious to hear your thoughts. If you agree with this or if you have any other ideas, then I'd be happy to hear it.
Sure. One of the things people need is if we think about this as a trip or vacation, an adventure, people want to know in general where we're going. So I think it's important to highlight this is what the future looks like, basically the idea of the future you. Here's how we're all going to be different, next year's thing and maybe in the future. It doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to, but it has to be a little more than conceptual. Oh, the world's going to be happy and good. So it needs to be physical enough that we can build a picture of where we're going. The other thing, people like to have a win. So I think if we can create something, whether it's an NFT or a video or something that just people can have, artwork by Rosemary, anything that is kind of celebrates a win is important. I think recognition is good. There's two kinds of recognition. There's the serious, hey, you really built this infrastructure. Hey, you really did this. Um, where my son worked, they have paper plate awards, and that's where they give people awards, but you just do it on a paper plate, so it looks like a ribbon, but it's just, and they're not to be serious. Like like most likely to sneak out of a work event without saying goodbye. Something like that. Most likely to eat the most pasta or um, you know, uh, uh, most likely to have at least 10 websites in, in giving their weekly weekly respect game. Something like that. So that's possible. Is even if you create a Notion page and say anybody can put those kind of fun awards. And I think probably an interesting thing is since we're talking about, here's the journey of where we're going, here's how we got here, and that's what you talked about, personal stories of how it's affected people and that kind of stuff. Here's where today, um, have a have something free or cool that's just fun. Recognition, we can do serious and non-serious are possible. But I think having a next win is a good. Here's the next journey. On the next trip to Optimism um, Fractal, what's the next stop on our journey? I think it's important to go that, get people ready for that, and be ready to celebrate a win when it happens.
Good points, Eric. Thank you for sharing. There's yeah, some really interesting ideas there that I think are worth exploring more and doing something along these lines. So I I like the fun ideas. In the past, I did try giving away NFTs. And one of the things I've noticed as a result of hosting these events and trying to build a lot of this up from scratch in terms of the software and explaining the educational resources that I personally have been very strapped for time and overcommitting my schedule a lot. And I said I was going to give away NFTs, and then it took time to like learn how to do the NFTs and stuff like that. And the past few times I tried to do it, I didn't do it. So
Well, that's why I think just some of Rosemary's artwork, whether it's something new, unique, or whether it's just taking some of the artwork you've had and putting words on it or putting a couple of them together in a collage, it doesn't have to take more than even 15 minutes if it's just taking something that's there and building fact. We could even go to AI, say, here's what it is, build me a commemorative picture.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of art, and we kind of try to make every event special by having unique art for each one. I just had an issue, and it's probably a lot easier now. But like the past couple of years, when I tried making NFTs, that actual action of making them
Yeah.
and sending to
No,
people,
it's painful.
th-
If
that
you know
that
people
was
do it
difficult
all
for
the time,
me.
it's easy. But
Yeah, it just took a
because
learning
even if you
time. Yeah.
because even if you have to make an NFT, you go, well, what platform are we giving it? Wax, Ethereum,
Yeah. We
the
do it
art,
on Optimism, probably being
right.
Optimism. And there's some good platforms I know on Base and I think on Optimism. But I'd have to research because there's like 10 platforms that you could use. So um, I think definitely having some nice pictures, making it special in that way. And if we can, I mean, also anybody watching this is welcome to help contribute to it in any way. And I would love to have NFTs and these kinds of special things, and also these kinds of awards like you mentioned, like these kinds of fun awards. I think that's really nice for culture and bringing people together. And then I also really like the idea that you mentioned about having more about where we're going and like the win that's to come too. Because I think it might be a good time. The community is not. We only had three people at Optimism Fractal yesterday, not yesterday, yesterday hour, the past hour. And so at various times, I think last week we had eight people, and maybe there's been an average of 6 or 7 people. But like the community is not at a huge point yet. So like it's still a pretty small community, and we've been really in a building stage with a bunch of like people who are interested in learning about what we're doing or some of like just kind of hardcore OG builders like me and you who have been building a lot of the foundations like Zal, like Kadas, like Rosemary, like others. So maybe I mean focusing on celebration, I think is a good thing to do and having some fun with it. But also I think that talking a little bit about where we're going, maybe it's also probably time for that too because we haven't really had that many discussions as the Optimism community
Well,
lately outside the respect game. So
w
we should have a discussion
without
about that
having
too.
without having an itinerary, then it's just being on the bus or being on the plane or the train, and people get distracted because everything else in our life does have urgency.
Hmm.
So unless we see going here, the next stop is there, on our river cruise, we're here's where the cruise is going and we're stopping there. Without it doesn't have to be that precise, but without that we all get distracted.
Yep. And I think, each of us have our own like visions of what we see happening in the next year. Like I know you've been working on this research project and earlier we were talking about how you have all these plans coming together with both the new podcast you're launching and the nonprofit that you're directing now and the research that you've been doing for the doctoral program and how in 2026 you see all these things converging and also how it synergizes with Optimism and Optimism Fractal. And I also have, like this year I completed the research project that I had funded as a grant by the Optimism Grants Council. And in this, I have ideas for how a nonprofit organization could support Optimism Fractal. And we have various different ways to grow the ecosystem. And we have our tripartite governance structure and like, I suppose, ways that we can really scale up Optimism Fractal and help it benefit people on a much greater scale, both specifically helping people uh, get on chain, enjoy the benefits of optimism, helping to actualize the original optimistic vision of the Optimism Collective, bringing together people across the super chain, and also just helping all kinds of communities and organizations, nonprofits, businesses, DAOs to use these kinds of tools and software we've been building. So both of us have our own kind of angles on how that will happen, and or our own kind of inner visions, I suppose, visions we've talked about, but also visions that maybe we haven't talked about in a while because I think that Eden Fractal has been focused on kind of rebuilding its Epoch 2 and Optimism Fractal. We haven't had Town Hall in a while, so maybe that'd be a good thing for us to discuss, me and you, as well as anybody else who joins who has this kind of vision for okay, well, how do we take these building blocks we've built over the past 2 years and make it um, make it to where the community needs to be. So it's not just like going along the bus, but we have that firm vision that others can see and that we can all kind of come to more of a shared vision and seeing, all the plans we have. Because like I personally love to hear more about like what you have in mind and what others have in mind too. And I have some things that I haven't shared yet with the community that I'd be happy to. So maybe that'd be a good thing to do if we like, in addition to having the phone, we each kind of like share a little speech about a kind of, or maybe just a discussion about what we're going to achieve together next year collectively.
Sounds great.
Okay, I agree. Well, thanks, Eric, so much for all the inspiration and this discussion about the Optimism Fractal 2 year anniversary. If there's anything else you want to share about that, then feel free. We can always come back to it too if other ideas emerge. But I think I'm happy with that because that gave a lot more clarity. So for my side, what I think I'll do is I'll make a proposal for the Optimism Fractal 2 year anniversary over the next week or so, and that will kind of just be like a kind of outline of an agenda or itinerary about how we could celebrate it. I'm curious, Eric, if you had any thoughts, by the way, about the Optimism Factor formal. It's kind of a crazy idea because we don't really usually get dressed up, and I don't want to make it too difficult for people. Maybe it's too far out there, but I was just thinking, I mean, you're wearing a nice shirt right now, but I was thinking maybe if we have a cool Zoom background, if we all pick a Zoom background, but I don't know, maybe it's asking too much. Do you have any thoughts about that? The Optimism
One thing you could do is create a background and have us all put it in our Zooms.
That's pretty easy to do, right?
That's pretty easy to do. I mean, it'd be cool if we all had our different, but that takes a lot of work. If we're just going simple, just create a create an anniversary background that we can all put in.
That would be cool. I think that's a good idea. Maybe we use some of the old pictures we created and pick like 3 or 4 that people can have their option. They could, choose which one. That's an option too.
And because it's artwork, you can keep that as a prize.
Okay. I like it. All right, so we'll do that, and maybe we'll do the formal. If people want to dress up, they're welcome to. Um, Part of me's been thinking that maybe dressing up would be cool, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe that's too much. But I like the background of that. That's more on theme for Optimism Fractal. So, all right, sounds good. Do you have any thoughts on that, or do you feel like
Sounds
moving on to the research project that you're doing?
I'm ready to move on, of course.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I'll just say first, hope that I invite everyone to join for the special occasion on the Thursday coming up. I believe it's the 29th. Invite your friends, and if anybody has any ideas, then feel free to share in the Discord or Telegram groups that you know, Optimus Fractal Discord and so forth. And we hope to see you there. And yeah, I'll make a proposal that kind of summarizes some of the stuff we shared there. So looking forward to celebrating, and also just want to just give a special thanks to everybody who's participated over the past 2 years and made it so special. And I'm really excited for all we'll do in our third year. But anyway, I'll save my speech for next time. I just wanted to put that out there a little bit in I suppose preparation for coming because it's coming soon and it actually will be 2 years and 4 days. So thanks all so much. Thanks, Eric. And now I think we'll move on. So, Eric, I already kind of researched or I already kind of introduced your research project a little bit, but I kind of went quick and high level. So maybe it would be useful if you want to give like a general introduction to the audience of what your research study is, what it aims to achieve, and so forth. I know you have some plans for today. If you want me to share my screen and show for example, your volunteer informed consent and interest form or any of the related
Well,
websites or anything,
I've
then I
got
can.
a presentation, and the purpose is we're about to go into research, and I have to let people know what the research is about, what they're getting into, and this is just my draft. So me practicing giving it and getting feedback of whether something's not clear, simplify, add something. So I'm really just looking for practice giving this before I actually have to do it in November. And getting feedback is really all I'm looking for. So the presentation itself explains what people need to know about the research, I think.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thanks for the intro. And whenever you're ready, you can share the presentation, and I'm happy to provide feedback. And then, of course, for anybody watching, any feedback would be welcome too that you could share in the Optimism Fractal chat or the Eden Fractal chat, or I suppose you could just reach out to Eric too. But anyway, the floor is yours, Eric. Looking forward to seeing it.
All right, so I'll give this as if you are participants. At this point, you've gone online and you filled out the informed consent form, and we'll discuss what that is. But it just means that you've been invited to participate, you've filled out the form, and this is the first training. Cool. So
Sounds
I'm
good.
excited that you're here. This research means a lot to me, and the fact that you've shown an interest to that is very appreciated. It's a research study. The actual title is Measuring the Impact of Appreciation on Nonprofit Volunteer Motivation. It's done with the California Miramar University with myself as the researcher, supervised by Dr. Terry Friel, who is the doctoral committee chair, Dr. Edmund Kashadorian, who's the methodologist, and Dr. Paula Herring, who is a member of the committee. So, what is this study about? This study examines how peer appreciation affects volunteer motivation. We know that appreciation is a big factor. The idea is, can we make it in an easy to deliver, use program with the idea that it will help volunteers more easily connect and more deeply connect with their organization, the mission, and each other. So why participate? Strengthens your volunteer connection with your mission, and it's easy. It's fun, doesn't require a lot of management. That's one of the things, almost no volunteer management overhead, but it may provide practical insights to your leadership to use to improve your experience in your organization. But people have done that, have reported that it's fun, energizing, and team building. That's what it's designed for. So where did this interest come in nonprofits? Well, I've actually worked with nonprofit organizations as an advocate, a founder, a board member, organizer, and of course, a volunteer. Here's some nonprofits I work with. The Security Network, I was a board member, and that was designed to help people in our national security, medical, emergency management, law enforcement, uh, Department of Defense, find technologies to solve problems. For example, firefighters would say when we go into a building, we can't talk to each other, and we would find a technology from some small group somewhere in the world that would do that and solve a lot of problems. One of those problems we kept seeing was having to do with uh, sustainable freshwater and saltwater, basically ocean technologies. It's one of the founding board members of the Maritime Alliance. I later worked in marketing as a volunteer also, but that was promoting sustainable science-based ocean businesses. And we were able to work with lots of companies, get a program started for universities to fill those jobs and also work with governments. We worked with the city and county governments to improve business. We worked with the our state governor. We eventually worked with the White House and people all over the world. Um, and Blue Tech Week is still here in San Diego. It's big. It's attended worldwide. It's successful. I also volunteered for AFCEA, which is the premier organization to help defense industry work together to find, use, develop, and implement new technology. From that, I helped co-found the PlugFest Consortium, whose job was to make sure that to convince the government that government, industry, and academia working together on the same program at the same time could actually deliver good systems fast as opposed to compliance systems slowly. And after doing 13 national events, and 3 years later, Deborah James, as Secretary of the Air Force, announced PlugFest Plus as one of her three pillars for saving the Air Force IT acquisition money. You can still see her announcement on YouTube. And that moved into an office in the Pentagon. It's one of the early organizers for Startup San Diego, and we doubled that organization every year till we got up to 3,000 at Startup Week before the pandemic. Also worked for Gala Calendar, an organization that helps nonprofits get funded, and I'm currently the director of the Quillis Institute, whose job is to accelerate uh, innovation by breaking down government bottleneck or silos between government, industry, and academia, remove bottlenecks, and educate through collaboration. But here's what I found in doing all these. Um, we needed to spend more time on mission. It seemed like we spent an inordinate amount of time on survival, which is important, but wouldn't it be great if we didn't spend so much time? So when I did my research, what we found is the number one factor in organizations getting more funding, delivering more and better services, and lowering their operating costs was volunteer motivation. So how do you motivate volunteers in a way that's a good experience for everybody? So with lots of different organizations, um, like Eden Fractal, Optimism Fractal. We've been testing this organization for over 2 years in a variety of conditions, including with art associations, pizza chains, personal development organizations, small business organizations, music, things like that. And so the question is, can this methodology we've been using to connect and grow online organizations work as well or better with local organizations, and can I prove it? So uh, this is an 8-step process, simple steps to complete. We'll go over all these, but in general, if you filled out the consent form, that's just showing an interest. Doesn't obligate anybody to anything. What you'll do in the email, you receive your own unique ID. We'll do this online training you're getting here, which will be recorded. Fill out a easy survey, sign up for a consensus app where we can reach agreement together. And then the core is really these weekly online structured networking sessions. Fill out the online survey again. So we'll see if the motivation changes at the end from the beginning. And I'll correlate that with the weekly, with the appreciation points you get every week. and I'll publish the data. So all I'm really going to do is go over these 8 steps. And I know it seems a lot, but it's really easy. Okay. Okay. Well, people who've done this have reported feeling more connected to the organization and each other while feeling heard and appreciated. Possible benefits by doing this may include recognition, strengthening social bond, clear line of sight to what you do and the impact you're having, and may add practical insights to yourself and the organization. Is this study confidential? Yeah, that's why you have a volunteer ID number. I will not be publishing or sharing anybody's names, any information. The only thing I really need is to figure out how many points were connected with what motivation scores. And I don't even need to know the person, do I just need to link that. When this gets published or shared, there aren't any names or emails associated, just points correlated with scores on a volunteer survey. And only that aggregated data, the correlation, the points and the correlation will be shared and published. Can you stop participating? Yeah, anytime. We just won't use the data. If you continue, you should have a good time, but this will really help with current and future, potential future efforts in there. But this is completely voluntary. Will you know the results? When you're done and I write this, I'll give you access to my doctoral dissertation if you want to read. It's hundreds of pages, but it goes into a lot of whys of the things that you may not need to know or care about it. Oh, like why this, why the point system, that kind of stuff. And I'll give you the group results to say what the correlation was, and if it correlates, if you just want that, a summary. So that's what you get. Who's involved in the study? As I mentioned, the study is conducted by me as a doctoral candidate at California Miramar University under the supervision of Dr. Terry Friel. If you have questions, you've got my phone number there. It's also at the bottom of all the emails you receive, my email address, which you get, and you can also request Terry Friel's contact information if you want to contact her. So stage one, the volunteer consent form is online. It's easy. That just reviews what we're talking about there. And all it's there is to make sure that everybody who participates knows what they're getting into, even though there's not a lot of risk factors that a lot of these forms have. It just lets you know that everything I've said, voluntary, confidential, it just repeats that. The second thing is you get a study ID number. That's actually automatically signed by a research application called Orchestra. So you'll get that number, and that's the number you'll use. It'll have a couple letters and a number. The next is the online training. You can get it live or recorded. This is the live version we're doing right now, and we're going to go over all these steps. Then we move on to the online survey. It can take 5 to 15 minutes. And the volunteer functions inventory is the most validated motivation survey in the research field. It's been validated to actually measure what it's supposed to measure and be very accurate, but it really just consists of 30 questions. Remember when you fill this out to use your volunteer ID number so I can link that with the points. So as long as you use your volunteer ID number on the form and the volunteer ID number when you sign into the consensus app, I'll be able to match that volunteer ID number and it will not need to be associated with your name. But the volunteer functions inventory is just 30 questions and they all cover various areas, but each question just has 1 through 7, meaning 1, I don't really agree with that statement, to 7, yeah, this is me, I get it. And we just take those 30 points and we just add up the numbers and that gives you a score. And so that's a score of how motivated we are to be volunteers. Uh, the other thing to do is sign up for a consensus app. You'll all get that link in the email to sign up for the consensus app. When you do, you'll get a page that says Welcome to Fractalgram. You log in and you can sign in or start your account using social media like Google or others, or using your email. If you do use your email, you will get a verification of that. So it'll just send your email a code and you put that in and logged in, and then you have an account, at which point it'll want to set up Your profile, there's really only two things, profile and play. Play this the consensus game, so to speak. Step one is make sure you've got the right organization. So your organization will be listed. Pick the right one. The other thing in your profile you want to do for this, later you can change this, is the volunteer study number that you've been assigned. You want to put that in for your name and username both. So that's what gets associated with the same number that's in the your volunteer functions inventory online score. So that's the thing that connects that. Then we go into this fun, structured networking. And this is done every week for 8 weeks in a row. It takes about 30 to 60 minutes. It's designed for 30 minutes, but because this is new, we'll allow 60. And it really consists of three parts. 3 minutes is sharing by everybody in small groups that are very friendly and open. 10 minutes or so of getting consensus. And then in the mail, you'll get your weekly points. So let's go over that. The rooms are assigned randomly and they're different each week. So you get a different groups. You don't get any people with the common ideas or that. It's just individuals talking, which is the way that it works. Is individuals need to be sharing their own thoughts, not groupthink. You choose an official timer. That timer then will choose which person in the group goes first. And the timer's job is just to make sure that people know when 3 minutes is up. Volunteer talks about thoughts, ideas, and actions toward the organization's mission. So, what do you think? What did you do? What idea do you have? The mission of Startup San Diego is to connect, educate, and inspire founders and local talent to grow an equitable San Diego startup ecosystem and entrepreneur community. So part of it is about building the community. The other is helping people in the communities. First is to support individuals building startups in San Diego, represent the interests of entrepreneurs, celebrate successes, foster cohesive and collaborative community, and guide founders and talent to the right resources. So it's about helping the community, helping individuals in the community get their interests met, and number three, get resources to help everybody in the community. So we'll be going over this mission every time. You'll get it the first thing when you log into your structured networking. It'll go out, so you'll have that in your chat windows right at the beginning. When one speaker finished, they choose the next speaker who gets 3 minutes. And when everybody's done with their 3 minutes, so that would be if you have 6 people in your group, there'll be six or less, you get 3 minutes of talk, and it's time to reach a consensus, and that's done with Fractalgram. You can sign into it now. It's always the same link, or you can sign on to this before it even started so that you have this up while you're in your Zoom rooms, and you can even sign on to this on other devices. You can have it on 2 devices. You could have Zoom on your phone and this on your tablet, or it doesn't matter. Remember, check that you're in the right group and check that you got your volunteer and your profile should be the same every week. And then what you'll do is it's important to pay attention to your Zoom room, your Zoom breakout room, because that's the number of group you're joined. So if you're in Zoom breakout room 1, you'll want to hit play and join a breakout group 1. If it's in breakout group 2, you want to click on breakout group 2. And that will open the consensus app. Okay. So now that we've heard everybody speak, we want to, based on the mission, figure out how you want to appreciate people. Here's the rules of appreciation. They're very simple. You want to connect their activity with specific tasks, roles, responsibilities, decision-making, autonomy, and the positive impact that you think their work has on the community. So these are just things you want to appreciate. In this friendly discussion, there's no negative impact of I don't like this. It's I really appreciate this about what you did, and this is what I appreciate personally, or I appreciate more something else. You don't unappreciate anybody, but you might appreciate somebody more. So the first thing is, and you'll get this guidance on appreciation every time too. The second thing that you want to do is connect appreciation to effort, progress at all stages. So it's not just somebody finished the thing, congratulations. Somebody decided to do it. They finished a milestone. They didn't give up. So we want to appreciate all these different task roles, responsibility, their decisions, their taking autonomy, and the positive impact of the work. We want to do that at all phases of their work. So it's pretty simple. Okay, so now you're going to vote for the activity that you appreciate the most based on the mission and that criterion. You'll see everybody's numbers there, and you're just going to vote for the number that you like the best for this week. One thing is, what if you join the wrong group? You're in breakout group one and you actually join two, just exit and then join the right group. So that's something we've added. What else? Well, when you get a consensus, it'll tell you you've reached a consensus. It'll tell you that everybody's voted, and you can go ahead and click to the next ranking, and it takes two people. Somebody else has to say. So anybody can trigger this once you've reached consensus. What if you didn't reach consensus? Why might that happen? It could just happen that you can't reach consensus and you're running out of time, but most likely somebody left the group intentionally or unintentionally. They had to go or they had a IT problem and the thing is waiting for them to vote and they can't vote because they're not there anymore. So at that point, you can go ahead and force the ranking anyway, even though there's no consensus. Okay, after you've done level six, the first person you appreciate most, you vote for level five. And level four, same thing. Level three, two, and level one will automatically be remain. At that point, we move from consensus to points. So you get more points. If anybody wants to go with that, I can talk about exactly how those points, and if you want to read the research, you can see exactly why those points were chosen. But everybody gets a little more points depending on your level. So everybody's going to get more points because it turns out if you give everybody a gold star, it's just not exciting enough for us. So we want to be appreciated, and we find that in general, everybody has good weeks. Not everybody gets the top score every time, but everybody gets appreciated, and uh, and we find that people, if they're practicing that, get appreciated a lot. And it's not that everybody's always at the bottom or the top, so that's pretty good. But you'll get these points in the mail. You get an email saying, congratulations, here's how many points you earned this week, and here's your total points. Then, for me, it's correlating the points and the appreciation scores, the difference in appreciation scores, and publish the feedback. So this is really about helping nonprofits recruit, motivate, and retain even more volunteers with almost no volunteer management overhead. So with that, I open this up for feedback or questions and realize this is just a draft. So I'll probably be sending out more guidance on how to sign up for the app. And maybe even if we could make a video on using the app so people can see how the consensus things work would be appreciated. Dan, the floor is yours. Thoughts?
Yeah, thank you very much, Eric, for the presentation and sharing the research. That gives me a much clearer idea of what you are now, what you're working on, and I'm really excited about this whole research project. So, way to go, and excited for the next steps. And um, I was writing some feedback along the way as well. So, if you'd like, I can give my
Sure.
feedback to you now.
And some things are in there because the university requires it, so I don't have a choice. Like I have to mention confidentiality and
Mm-hmm.
voluntary nature. So some things are required uh, by the university.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I understand that. I remember seeing some of that in some of your prior writing and things that you shared with us too. Okay, so what would be most helpful for you now? Would it be helpful to we're 10 minutes from the top of the hour, but we can also extend it to, and if you would like, I can go through all the feedback, all the notes I've written. I mean,
You could do that. We can either record it or not. I don't care, whichever you think is better. But I would like the feedback, sure.
okay, sure. Well, yeah, I suppose we could do it on the recording here because that way, I don't know, it could
Okay.
be helpful for you to have the record of it, and then maybe for
All
anybody else
right.
who might be designing something similar, then
I've also I've also got my notes ready to go, so I will be writing as you're talking.
okay, sounds good. And we also, by the way, we will be able to get the transcript from this too. So using that transcript, we could, make a summary with AI or something
Cool.
like that too. So you don't have to make your fingers too tired. It would be useful to just get that summary.
That would be
Um,
great.
okay, cool. So yeah, and I'm happy to share the video with you right after we get it on YouTube, so that you can get that summary sooner rather than later. Of course, it'll be on the Eden Careers YouTube channel eventually too.
Cool.
Um, okay, so overall, I love it. I think it's awesome. I think it's an amazing research initiative you're doing, and the introduction was pretty clear, and I think it gives people a good overview and introduction to it. So overall, I really like it. I'm going to share, I suppose, mostly focus on some things I noted here that you might want to consider as ways to make it clearer, or um, help them better understand it. Because I know that's I know that's the goal here. I believe you're aiming to make it more clear, and I don't remember the other
Three
words that you
things:
used.
clear, concise, and compelling.
Yeah, clear, concise, and compelling. So I'll do my
Appreciate
best to provide any feedback that both I'll
it.
highlight anything that seems like really good
And I
that's
don't
already
have
there,
any
but
emotional attachment. If you said should be green, red, this is too complex, I'm good with it.
okay,
It's
sounds good. So it
it's
should be
just
green and red and
feedback,
too
so
complex.
you're not
Just
going to
kidding.
hurt my feelings. I put work in it, did the best I could, but like I said, it's a draft in progress, and what is. I just want to make it better.
Sounds good. I'm with you, Eric. And so I'll do my best to help you make it more clear, concise, and compelling. I think what might be helpful actually is if you're able to share your screen again, then I can kind of go through it
Sure.
because I was taking screenshots of it and making notes, but there are a couple of slides I didn't get the chance to leave any feedback on, and it might be more, visually interesting for me
Right.
watching, or for both
Sure.
of
Let me
us.
bring it back up.
Okay, cool.
We can go for it slide by slide if you want.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be good. We could start back at the beginning of the slide.
Okay, let me bring that back up.
I suppose also one question I have too, that's kind of related to this is, I think in the previous event you said you're going to get 89 volunteers, or minimum of 89 volunteers for this study to be, I think, statistically significant. So I'm
Correct.
curious, do you already have, like, I suppose, like leads and connections to get the 89 volunteers? I know that you're working with
I have pools of volunteers that greatly exceed 100, but they're just being invited. So how many people will actually accept the invitation and stick with it? I don't know.
all right. And so part of the goal here is also to make it compelling for them so that they will want to join the study and commit to participating then. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. So I think that the first slide looks very nice, measuring the impact of appreciation on nonprofit volunteer motivation. And then examines how peer appreciation impacts nonprofit volunteer motivation. Free, easy to implement program intended to help volunteers easily connect more deeply with your organization's mission and each other. So I suppose just one question I'd have here is just like who you're targeting, because it seems like you're mostly targeting the volunteers who'd be interested in
Yeah,
participating.
at this point, I've already presented to the organization. That's a different presentation.
Hmm.
Has a lot of the same stuff, but it's guide more toward why the organization would want to invite their volunteers to participate.
Oh, so the
At,
org
at
then
this point, it's just the volunteers who've accepted that invitation.
okay. Well, this slide seems like it's kind of more focused on the organization in a way because it's saying free, easy to implement program, and
Okay.
maybe it should be like more like easy to participate if it's more about the participants as opposed to the organizations implementing it. And
Good
then
point.
and that says your organization's mission and each other, but maybe orienting that more towards like the participants
Okay.
um, here on this slide might be helpful.
Yeah, love it.
Okay. And yeah, maybe a bit more compelling, like how, it's also in addition to learning about how like providing valuable insights about how peer appreciation impacts volunteer motivation, maybe you can kind of like speak a little bit towards, a lot of people do want to do good for the world, so this will help, this potentially helps a lot of volunteers do better work to help nonprofits all around. Also, maybe it's like a good way for you to, meet friends or meet collaborators, something like that. Maybe I know you have something like that later too, so feel free to throw this advice out
Yeah, I
too.
think maybe those need to be merged. The reason it's that way is because it follows a format by the university,
Hmm.
but I don't necessarily need, I just need to cover the topics. They don't necessarily need to be in that, but originally I followed the format that I had to submit. But yeah, it's kind of repetitive in a couple of the other slides. So I think I might be able to combine them with what you're talking about. That's a good point.
Okay, cool. And same like you said, like I'm just sharing this feedback in case it's helpful too. So feel free to disregard it or go in a different direction too. Another thing that just came to mind too is like I'm um I'm a fan of creators on YouTube, and some stuff they say is like how the 5 seconds or they say like the thumbnail and the thumbnail title are like the most important things, and then the first 5 seconds of the video are like the most important after that because like you kind of want to make it really engaging from the beginning and really state that value proposition from the very beginning because a lot of people maybe they'll watch for 10 seconds they'll get bored. So it's like maybe think about these first couple of slides and just thinking how can you make it maximally compelling for them because one of the things you're trying to do is make it inspiring for them to want to do this training. So I would think especially about, how you can maybe restructure this first slide just to make it, maximally compelling as well as clear. But I think you can,
Or even doing it there.
yeah,
A slide before that.
you could do it there too. And maybe you can
A
have,
slide before that, then I have to have this slide because it's required, but that doesn't mean this has to be the first slide.
yep, that's right. So you can really catch their attention and intrigue them and be like, oh, this is something I really want to participate in. Here are some great benefits right at the top. And then afterwards, you can get into here's what the study's about, and who you are and stuff like that. So I would consider that just as a way to like, you know, just try to make the best impression on these volunteers. Because if we had even more volunteers in the program, that'd be even better for the study and also could really help them too to experience this. Myself and other people have had like these kind of life-changing benefits from participating with these kinds of processes. So you could mention a little bit about like how there's really great potential. I don't know, you don't want to oversell it, but it's true though. Like I met, a lot of amazing people through these events and it's changed my life. And I know you and other people have had similar experiences. So maybe kind of like, build it up a little bit, hype it up a little bit about what the benefits are. But of course, I'm not experienced with doing these kinds of academic studies, so this is just my perspective on, trying to make it more compelling. So I suppose that's all I have for this section. You could probably work with that and think of some ideas and we could brainstorm on it. But otherwise, if you want, we can go on to the next
Well,
slides now too. So yeah, this slide it kind of combines, and then that's what you're saying. You can kind of combine, and this is like the why, which I guess there's a book like Start with Why. So maybe like starting with this, and yeah, I think that there's some good things to like the positive experience, how it's designed to be fun, energizing, and team building. That's great. And practical insights that your leadership may be able to use to improve your volunteer engagement. That's also more towards like the organizations, I'd say probably. But it kind of also is helpful for the people too, but maybe more focused on the participants themselves as opposed to the organizational leaders. And also the part about minimal management involvement, that was something I thought about too. Like that's kind of seems like it's more targeted on the probably the organizations. So maybe it could be helpful to have a section about how like it can also be helpful for organizations and stuff, and it doesn't require minimum wage, but maybe just kind of like separating that because a lot of the volunteers might be interested or might have their own organizations too. So they might be interested for that too. So maybe it's worth like a sentence or a slide for that. But yeah, I would just try to be careful about trying to focus on who you're trying to be compelling for right in the beginning and try to like just target what they want as much as you can and speak to that in the beginning.
okay.
Uh, as far as just one more thought on the design too. I like the simple look too. You had in the top right corner in the last slide, you had like the road going there. Uh, I'm just an idea. Like you could also use the visuals to be compelling too in more of a way. And I don't know exactly what the road means and stuff like that. I don't know how much you want to think about that, but that's one thing. I often think about how things visually look, and I like the basic look, but you might want to have it like, for example, I use like the logo for the Respect game. I don't know if you wanted to use that or something else that might speak towards like the kind of togetherness and benefits, but just an idea that if you wanted to have some sort of imagery there that speaks to those benefits too to support it, then that's an option. You could also use a lot of AI tools to do that, or perhaps I can give you some of the imagery we use if that would be useful.
Okay.
Um, and then for this slide, this was so I like this. I was a bit confused because I think this is largely about you, which was a great introduction to you. But it doesn't have like your name there. I think maybe if this slide was like right after the slide where you had the introduction to the program and you had your name there as well as others, yeah. And then it's a bit more clear on the slide itself that shows like maybe it shows your name or has your picture on there or maybe both, and it
Okay.
shows like that's who you are and this is your history. It's a bit overwhelming with the text on the bottom too. Maybe it should be organized a bit more if that's like a quote you really want to get across.
Well, I
Um,
could actually put a road and just put the logos along that road. Like if I
okay,
had a winding road, that might work.
okay,
Because then I could put my picture at the beginning of the road.
that might be good. Yeah, and also if you wanted, you could split this up into two different slides too, because you were talking on the slide for a long time. So
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
uh,
I thought that too.
Yeah, so maybe if you separate it because you have a lot here, you separate it into like two slides or even three slides if you wanted to. You could have one slide just about you, and then one slide about your history, and then one slide about how the right tools can spark innovation, create jobs, and build thriving communities. But throughout all this, you've realized that it needed to be focused more on the mission. I don't know exactly, but we're just having it so that if people are watching, it's like they're not looking at one screen for too long might be useful.
Okay.
Okay, but otherwise, all that stuff looks good though, and great history and stuff like that. I like this slide's nice with the Merkle animals and the picture and the different events that we have going here. Couple test motivations delivery, multiple organizations. That phrase is a little bit confusing. Test motivation delivery. Um,
Okay.
it depends, I guess. In the academic space, stuff like that, it might be better to
No,
have
that's
it
a
more
good,
formally
no,
written. But
that's a good point.
okay. Um, yeah, and then um, proportional ranking and census. Um, so. I like this. I don't think you mentioned more equal animals, so being that it's on the screen, it might be helpful to briefly mention it and like explain a bit of the history and the context. And
Hmm.
you mentioned Eden, but you didn't have Eden written. So if you wanted to write Eden Fractal there, you can. If you wanted to write Zhao for music as an example, you could. But of course, it's totally up to you if you want to write these things. But yeah, maybe having like a sentence too that kind of like helps explain what you're saying too, that kind of like highlights it. Maybe that like
Yep.
kind of breaks it down for people, like how this has been pioneered for the past 4 years. It was inspired by this book, and people have been doing it and refining this kind of process or something like that. With this history for 4 years, something like that. If you wanted, you can mention how like there's been, hundreds of events where we've been doing this. I don't know if you want to go into it, but maybe something you want to consider there to provide some context. But yeah, otherwise, I think that it's a nice kind of a slide and a way to start introducing people to the background of what we're doing.
Cool.
And then, yeah, another thing that I was thinking about towards the end. So this is like, I suppose next slide, you go into what am I expected to do? Which is, I think it's good. I think this slide is nice how you have it laid out, showing what to do, like in from first step to eighth step and stuff like that. Um, but I think maybe I'm just and again I'm thinking about in terms of the compelling aspect of what you're trying to get across. Being that you in the previous slide kind of introduced what we've been doing for with these different communities and how it started and stuff like that. And yeah, I do feel like a little bit more detail might be helpful there about why, like more about the why, like why does that book matter? Why do these people in those communities matter? And then maybe like a little bit of the how before the what might be good because that's like how the order of the book works. I know we've talked about this before too. So you start with the why and a really strong why, and then maybe have another slide. And you had the slide about what you actually do. I think maybe you mentioned earlier, but you went through the fractogram interface, was showing how people vote and stuff like that later, but that was towards the end of the presentation. And so maybe a little bit about like, okay, now you kind of know why this is great for, um, all the positive aspects of the good, energizing experience and helping nonprofits work better and accomplish their missions and stuff like that, personal development, all that stuff, and to hear some history about how it's been growing, and then maybe a bit about the how, like, okay, and here's kind of like maybe before you get into the stuff about the forum and the study ID number and the online training and stuff like that and the VF online survey, maybe you have a little bit about like, okay, well, what are you actually going to do if you join this study? Like, you have these benefits about why, but how would it work? And maybe you can kind of like tease at
Okay.
that or hint about it or explain briefly. Like, basically, you're going to go into these breakout groups with randomized people. If you do the consent form, like, we're going to get into the kind of logistical aspects about how it actually works if you're interested. But here's a quick highlight. If you're interested in doing this program and want to get all these benefits, then basically the way it's going to work is we're going to have an 8-week program where you're going to be welcome to join these calls and meet friends and try out this cutting edge, like pioneering kind of game or process where we're going to be ranking contributions or ranking, that kind of thing. And it's going to be a really good time and stuff like that. And so it's going to be a great opportunity to meet people and a little bit about it. Everybody's going to share a bit about
I
what they've
get it.
done and stuff like that, and then they're going to rank it. And we have an app for it and everything like that. And then you get into, okay, now that you know the how that we're going to achieve the why, now the details. What am I going to do this? Now that you're excited to do it, now here's what you'd have to do. First, you have to fill out this 5-minute form, and then you would get a study ID number, and then you do the training with more details and stuff like that. So I would think about moving another slide or maybe a few slides in there to kind of explain that
Yeah, I
more.
get it. I have a lot of ideas based on what you said.
Okay,
It's
cool.
more about their experience at the right. So, yeah, here's the experience you're going to have, and here's the important things about it. Yeah, I have lots of ideas.
Nice. I'm glad it's
What
been
you
inspiring
just
for
said.
you.
And this is kind of repetitious with the beginning, so I need to merge these things.
Yeah. And there's a lot of good stuff there. Yeah. But I think that should be earlier. That's more like why, basically.
Yeah. And these are just some concerns people might have. So I'm addressing the concerns. So these I think are good at the end. Not
hmm
so much that one because we've already talked about that. That's combined, but
Yep. I agree that was good. But that could probably be saved towards the end after you've kind of like sold them on it already, after they're compelled. I mean, maybe you could have it early, and maybe it
yeah,
could.
these are at the end because these are, why wouldn't I do the studies? These are it should be agreed at the end.
Mhm. If you wanted, you could have it briefly in the beginning too, like not a full slide, but just like as part of the why, and also be private, and you can stop at any time if you want. So there's no commitment. Maybe those are good things to have a bit in the beginning, but then have the full slide later.
I think those are good at the end.
Okay, cool.
I kind of already addressed that in the beginning, but
hmm
it really just reiterates, yeah, you can talk to me.
Yeah, and
This,
that can go at the end too, I think, as a way for people
yeah,
to follow up.
yeah. And then this just goes down the process.
hmm
So put those other ones at the end, put the other stuff at the beginning, and now this goes through each step.
Yep, yep, that makes sense. And I think that looks good. Once people are, on board and excited to do it, then this is a good way to give them an overview. The visual look could be like a bit improved here, I think, just because you have like this big blue box and the text is only on like one part. So I think you could maybe just like center that text and maybe make it a bit bigger or something like that. But other than that, I think that looks good though. I
Okay.
guess I didn't have a chance to read the language there. I don't know if you want to try to review that. Um, I don't know what you mean by choose between a live interactive Zoom session. That you can either do it there or recorded session at your convenience.
Yeah.
I don't know if there should be bullet points. You could just put that one line, but I guess it's good as is though, and cover study process and answer your questions. Yeah, I think that's cool. Maybe put that in just a paragraph, but bullet points works too. So I think that works.
Shrink the box. Okay.
Yeah, shrink the box or make the text bigger to make it centered. This part, you say VFI, and I think you mentioned volunteer functions inventory. Yeah, it says it. So Um, I was a little bit confused 'cause I didn't. I was trying to figure out what VFI meant for a little while, but I now see that it says it. So I suppose this is good. You might also want to, I suppose, put this in context of how it helps them. But I guess this is more so when they're already into
Yeah,
doing it.
I said it, but I could put text, making clear that this is the most validated volunteer motivation
Hmm.
survey. So they're clear that it is the volunteer functions inventory, and here's what it is. And I could make that in there more clear.
Yep. Yeah, right now there is a lot of text here. So like as I was talking about it, like I was like, should I read it or should I talk about it? And people who are listening might be kind of in the same kind of thought. Like, should I listen to what Eric is saying or should I read this? And so a
Got
good rule for, these presentations like this is like try to be pretty short on the text, have like a couple short bullet points, but maybe you could either just say some of this stuff, uh or just like kind of summarize it more in like some simple bullet points that reinforce what you're saying in a visual way without having to have people read it. I mean, you could have the screenshot too, but I don't know, might be a bit overwhelming with all the text.
Okay. Is that
All right.
useful to see kind of what it looks like or not?
Um, I mean, I think it helps provide clarity with what the VFI is. Like this gave me more understanding about what the VFI was as you were explaining it. Um, it might be more from your perspective when you say measure motivation. Like I guess it's from the perspective of the study and what the study wants to accomplish. So I guess it depends on still like how much you're trying to compel and motivate them and make it a great experience for them versus how much you're trying to just explain the purpose of the study. Potentially, you could have this with a smaller picture. I don't know. It's up to you, of course. But it does help people better understand the VFI, and I guess it's up to you if you want people to really understand that well, or if you want to just you could probably get across. Like another thing is too. I don't know how much time the people will give the presentation. And I think your presentation was like maybe 20 minutes or so, I think. And so this is maybe a slide that you could reduce and you could just say it if you're trying to be more efficient on time and they don't need to know about it. Maybe you could just briefly mention it's a quick survey that takes 15 minutes or whatever. It has 30 questions and it just asks a couple questions that help us better understand you. And like that might be sufficient just to say that without people needing to know what kind of questions it is. But uh, you know much better with the research than me, so I'm not sure whether it should be included or how much you want to go into it and stuff like that. I think it could work either way.
Okay.
And yeah, if you did want to go for like, I mentioned like watching YouTube. Like for example, I watched Mr. Beast. He's the most popular YouTuber, and he is like, you can learn a lot from just how he like conveys things. So if you want to make it more like engaging and compelling, then some of those things can be like, maybe you could just summarize this in like a sentence or two, and then keep it more focused on what they're most excited about. Because I think that the VFI online survey is probably more beneficial for you than it is for the participants.
Yeah.
That's something that's really helpful. Well, it's helpful for the research in general, but it's
Yeah.
not like the most exciting aspect of it for them. So you can mention like you can really compel them on the benefits of the research, and then say, and to do the research, you just need to do a couple things. You just got to get this form, and then the online survey. It's going to really help make the survey. It's going to make the whole
Yeah, and
research better.
it could be, but it would be more work for me to deliver them the results in a way because the VFI actually will tell you about yourself, but I'm not promising that yet because it actually looks in categories and there's ways of presenting it, but I'm not promising that. Yeah, because it's a lot of work.
Okay. Well, I guess you use judgment there. Also, if it's helpful, all this, I've been using AI tools a lot too. So, just as a side note, any of this stuff that we say, you can ask AI to like, try to
Yep.
make drafts of things that you could write or stuff like that, or, things that you could have on the slides and stuff. So I guess just use your judgment on how that is. And yeah, maybe we can move on to the next one about, Consensus app account now. So. I think that's good. If you want, you can use it's currently at respectgame.xyz. It's a bit of shorter link, but either one should work. Um,
Cool.
you might want to. have these as like verbs, like you have receive study ID number, but then the other one's like on trend training. I don't know, it might be kind of nitpicky, but you could have like a verb like sign up for Consensus app or create an account, but you already have that, so I think that's not really needed. I'm probably going into details. Okay, so um, we can go to the next slide if you want. Mm, so this is good. Another thing you might want to consider doing, I mean, it depends how you want to present it, but you could just have different slides for some of these things. Like you already showed them the informed consent form and study ID number and online training and stuff like that. And you already went over that and the VFI online survey. So it might be, better to focus attention on just like the most current thing. So you already showed the eight things all together. But maybe you could just like have a slide that just shows, okay, step five, create consensus, to create an account on the consensus app. And then that's where you show record and fractogram and stuff. And that way you make it a bit more focused for them. That might be
Okay,
something to consider.
sounds good.
And then, yeah, you could show them the wall and stuff like that. If you did have it where Um, one just general point of feedback is that it starts to get crowded when you put things over other things. So,
Right.
like for example, the
Yeah, I
login or
can
sign
get
up
rid of all that.
window is over where it says where player, but it gets cut off and says consensus
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So, I think if you did make different slides and didn't have all the stuff in the background, then you can fit it all without overlapping itself, and it'd
Right.
probably be easier to look at.
Makes sense. Same. This
Yep.
stuff that could just be different. Its own
Hmm.
slide with nothing else on it.
Yep. Um, I like the picture here in the bottom left corner. I think that'd be cool to make that maybe bigger and more in focus at some place. Then that could even be one of the pictures that's earlier too. Like I was mentioning how in the beginning having something that's more like visually engaging could be useful. So some
Right.
sort of picture like that could be useful either here, both here as well as other places, just to give people like a visual idea of like what it will look like, kind of. Just a suggestion. And then. Yeah, I think same thing here, like having to share 3 minutes each consensus and weekly, like that's something that you could just make a slide just for that weekly online networking. And then maybe there you can even go into a bit more detail with the share consensus and weekly points. Maybe have like a bullet point for each one.
Cool. No, I'm getting a whole different feel for this.
Okay,
But
nice.
I get it. Just go down and I still need to cover this stuff, but it doesn't need to be overlaid on the other. We can just go down.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, you could free up a lot of like space there and all those windows you just showed and have it just on different slides that kind of like pop up and just have kind of one main or two main focal points for each slide, I think. I'm not sure. I don't remember what the purpose of this slide was. This is providing guidance for them to for the participants, or
Yeah, this
it's
is
providing benefits
how
to the program.
no, this is how you evaluate their efforts. Like, how do I know if Dan's was good? How do I give Dan appreciation? I could even break this apart, make it, but these are things you can appreciate people for.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I try to make it more like practical like that. Like say you're in the breakout room and you're each person shared what they did. Then how do you like how do you come to consensus? Like, what kind of things do you rank? Who deserves to be the top level
Yeah,
or
this is
first
when you come
place?
up with your decision. These are decision-making criteria on appreciation.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that would be
There's
better. Break it down and
there's
simplify
actually
it a
a
bit.
there's actually a crap load of research into this to tell you the truth. But yeah, I can see that. I kind of thought that earlier too. I put that in there, but
Hmm. You could still have those ideas, but just kind of break it down in a more simple way for people, like to help guide them. in kind of a less like I suppose say academically worded way. And then one thought I had about here too is just that I'm a bit confused because you have the rankings. I know you have some like requirements with confidentiality and stuff like that, but it says Eric not yet voted, but then it has each person's name. I
Oh
know
yeah.
in that form you ask them to put the study number or something like that, but to me
Yeah, I
that
can
seems like
change.
yeah, to me it seems like they should still put their name. Maybe you could put the study number or whatever that is elsewhere because it just makes it like confusing. Like if it says like Tom, Rick, Jerry, Susie, and John there, it makes it very simple about ranking. But if I have to rank like Susto 17 versus Susto 122, it becomes like,
Well,
difficult.
you're mostly just remembering the number, right?
I guess, but people on
And
the
you're
Zoom room
and
would
you're
have
and
Susto
you're
122.
and you're seeing the number on Zoom because that's what we will put on there.
Okay, I mean,
I should put that. To tell you the truth, personally, I don't care, but the university wants things protected. So, in order to do the, IAB requirements, when we do this, in a non-research mode, organization can use the names. In the research, I had to whole write up the impact and risk of using their names. It's a whole section on this, and the university's determination is you have to keep that. So if they put that in there when I get the documents from the consensus app, it doesn't have their name, which adds a layer of data protection for them.
okay. Well, I mean, you're balancing two things. I could just say, from the user experience, it's much better having the names there. It's much like personal. If some of the things that are compelling about it is like, how do we like
Yes,
building
and
relationships and meeting friends and stuff like that. Like
agreed,
having names makes it
agreed.
much
And
easier.
I spent weeks in discussion about this, and it was determined by my board and the university that for them to approve it, it must be this way.
Okay.
So
Well,
this is not something I have a choice in.
okay. Well, if there's any way you could do it where like maybe you had some of the names in their experience, but you remove their names from the output of the research, maybe that's something you could do, but I'm sure you've researched a lot. So if that's the way it has to be, and there's no way to have the names, obviously the names, I think it's much better for the people, but I think that if you have it explained to the people in the research, you could make do with it. Um, but yeah, just something then to overcome. So if there's any way to get around it, then that'd be great. But otherwise, I guess you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
Okay. And otherwise, I think same feedback here. These are some good practical tips about what happens if you need to exit the group or whatever. You could, organize that as we said, like on some different slide.
Yeah, and tell it through their experience. Talk about them and their
Hmm.
participation. When you're in the rooms, do it from their point of view is good feedback.
Yep.
And get rid of all the other stuff and just talk about that. So I think that's good.
Yep. I agree.
Same here.
Hmm. Yeah. You might want to go a bit more into those weekly appreciation points and how they'll, like them
Yeah,
and enjoy them.
I
And
I have hidden slides in here on how the points are divided. I'm not sure yet
okay.
because it's complex and it's a little different than how we're used to doing it
Hmm.
because it takes into more account of the fact that you could have different levels of groups and how do you normalize it across multiple groups and things like that.
Hmm. Yeah, if there is any way to have some sort of like prize, like at the practical events, we have respect tokens, and then people can get, different power and stuff like that from there. I don't know if that's possible within the scope of this program, but if there's any way you can make it like kind of like a
I
fun little
would
thing
not
that they would
do that
get.
as I would not do that as part of the research because every one of those things is a variable. And
Okay.
then I have to determine, well, is this reward better than that reward? And
You're just measuring the points.
for
Okay, I got it.
anytime I add a variable in there, then that could skew the results, and I have to figure out a way to consider those it can be done, but we're making it more complicated because then I would need more people
Okay.
to say, is the impact due to appreciation or is the impact due to this reward versus that reward? And does that reward affect different people differently?
Hmm.
So while these are certain things we can experiment with real organizations, it's not, it makes the research way more difficult.
Yep. It makes sense to isolate the variables and just focus on just the just the appreciation points. I get that. And so
Yeah,
maybe another
in
topic for
this
future
study,
research.
because there's so much in there to say, well, but if you get more, does it, I mean, there's a million questions. This could spawn research for years of saying,
Hmm.
well, what if we do this? What if we do that? How about this? Um, but for this, I'm just trying to make it, um, just trying to make it get through this thing with valuable data.
Makes sense. Okay. I think we should probably wrap up pretty soon because we're at just about
Yep,
90 minutes. So we can
I
keep
think
going through the rest of the slides if you want. Oh, wait, if you want to, we can
that
go through the rest of the slides,
that
but I think that's
that
towards the
is the
end, right?
slide. That's it. We're
Oh,
done.
okay. Okay, cool. So, yeah, and that last slide, I think also the last slide, maybe you can have because both you want to like make it compelling for them in the beginning and
Right.
like, kind of catch their attention, but also I think even if they watch the whole presentation and like they're excited in the beginning, I think maybe ending on like a really strong note too, thinking about that. I think that was mostly targeted towards like, if I'm not mistaken, towards like the organizational leaders again. And so I know you're also, considering ways to bring this to organizations. And so that could be a good pitch for when you start doing that. And that's something we could probably collaborate on going forward. But you probably want to have like they're not yet sold on the idea of doing it yet, or they're not yet like 100% certain to go and actually participate in the program until like they go. And so that last slide, you probably also want to maybe like re-emphasize some of the benefits and maybe express some enthusiasm and maybe put the date and time or whatever they got to join or next steps.
Yep.
Kind of summarize that to kind of like make them like really excited at the end. That might be another thing to consider.
Cool. All great feedback. A lot of work, but that's what I expected. So appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and thanks for putting all the work together so far. I love to see how it's coming along, and glad that my feedback could be helpful. And yeah, I'm glad we're recording this too, because AI makes it a lot easier too. When you use AI, AI can speed things up. So hopefully the transcript for this will be helpful. And yeah, I'm looking forward to next steps and then seeing how the presentation comes out after you refine it as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Eric. Thank you. Is there anything else we should share, or should we wrap up this Options Town Hall?
I think we can wrap it up.
Okay, sounds good. Should we, I don't know, should we say go research, go optimism, go maybe just go optimism because we have optimism for the research?
Sure.
All right, three. Oh, well, actually, first I should say thank you everybody for watching Optimism Town Hall. We hope to see you at the next Optimism Fractal coming up for the 2-year anniversary. It's been a pleasure discussing this with Eric and a pleasure with the Optimism Fractal community over the past few years. We hope to see you at the next event as well as all the events on the Optimistics event calendar. Lou.Optimistics. Check out the videos on the Eden Creation YouTube channel too. Thanks, Eric, so much for sharing your presentation with us. And really excited for the research. And I suppose for anybody who's interested in supporting the research, check out the show notes where you can find the research, informed consent and volunteer form so you can get involved, as well as feel free to reach out to Eric on social media. I think you saw his information. He's also on Telegram as well. You can share a message in the Eden Fractal Telegram chat, t.me/Eden Fractal, Optimism Fractal Discord. Eric, is there anything else you wanted to share for anybody who might be watching who might be interested in this, or should we just wrap it up now?
No, that's it. Good for now.
All right, we're good for now. So thanks all again for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we're going to head down. Three, two, one. Go
Go optimism.
optimism. All right. See you all. Thank you.